the Lord. You know, I have now been labeled as the old blabbermouth preacher. Screaming and hollering, and one person said to me, and you're always talking about the preachers. He said, why are you always talking about the preachers? The answer is simple, plain, cut and dry. I don't talk about real preachers, I talk about false preachers. Why do I do it? Because they are the problem. I want to remind the ones who call me the old blabbermouth, I'm going to start out this morning and I'm going to have a few words to talk about an old blabbermouth. It's called the Apostle Paul. But before we go any further, what I'm going to do today, you all know my subject. I'm talking about getting the garbage out of the gospel. But we're going to subtitle that today, and I'm going to talk about preaching about the unknown God. Preaching about the unknown God. Ladies and gentlemen, and I have to be careful with that word because it's becoming outlaw in New York, I understand. Ladies and gentlemen. The problem is this. They are preaching about a God that they do not know. A God that they do not know. Now, why is that so? There again, it is simple. They are not willing to pay the price. Jesus himself said, if you want to find me, you must seek for me as a man seeking for a hidden treasure. Now, I'd like to bring this up to show you a picture. I just reminded my congregation of when I was in the Navy and my wife and I were living in Newport, Rhode Island. I lost a $10 bill in the house. And I'm here and man enough to admit that I tore the house apart looking for that $10 bill. Where did I find it later? I found it in the trash can. It was wet and tore up. One of my daughters tore up the $10 bill. And I'm here to tell you, sometimes I think about that $10, I still get angry. Over $10. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what is $10 to a treasure? You see, here is what is so provoking. Here's what's so provoking. When you see so-called preachers mitigating the value of the people whom Christ died for, it will provoke you. Anytime you begin to put emphasis on money, you are mitigating, you are dumbing down, you are devaluing what Christ died for. Amen. Some people now believe that Christ died for money. Listen to false teachers and preachers. But why are you on the false teachers and the preachers? Because the churches, so-called church leaders, they are the major problem. Let me remind you. Religious people, the one who went into the churches, the one who carried the scriptures, are the ones that killed Christ.
Amen.
All the prophets were persecuted, not by sinners, but folks going inside the synagogue, Amen. Going into churches. Christ was friends with sinners. He hung out with sinners. The so-called religious people are the ones that hate Christ because Christ was the truth.
Amen.
The ones right now who hate me are folks who carry Bibles. Folks who profess to know God. Folks who claim they're looking for the truth. But they they can't handle the truth when they hear it.
Amen.
Why? Because guess what? The truth will always direct you to go in a direction that you don't want to go in.
Yes.
That's why the Bible teaches that in the last days they're going to be willingly ignorant.
Yes.
They don't want to know God. They don't want to know the way of the truth, because the way of the truth is going to direct you away from your fleshly gratification.
Amen.
What are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about getting to know God. God raised me up for this purpose, for this day. That people will get to know, at least hear, about who the real God is. Listen to me carefully. I was talking to a Catholic brother at a gas station. And he said to me, "Brother Pastor, the only problem I have with Christians, they don't give enough honor to God's mother." I said, "Who is God's mother?" I said, "Who is God's mother?" Stay with me. We're going to bring you from logics to supernatural. From the concept of men to the truth of God. I said to him, he said, the Christian doesn't give enough credit to, and I'm saying this for a reason, I'm repeating, to God's mother. I said, God doesn't have a mother. What do you mean? I said, Mary was the mother of Jesus in his humanity.
Yes. Amen.
But Jesus created Mary in his deity.
Amen.
He was lost. He was lost. Jesus. Mary was the mother of Jesus. But Mary was not the mother of God. Because God, Jesus, existed before Mary was born.
Amen.
Jesus created Mary.
Yes. Yes.
Why? Because Jesus was God Jehovah,
yes,
before he came to the cross.
Yes. Amen.
Now, you're not going to understand that just reading the Bible. That's going to have to be revealed by God. And God only going to reveal that to those who are willing to seek until they find him.
Amen.
And then he reveals to them the supernatural power of God. Are you listening to me? Now let's run quickly here because time goes so fast. I'm going to start off with Psalms, the 8th chapter and the 3rd verse. God said this: when I consider thy heavens, the work of thy finger, referring to God, the work of thy fingers, the moon, and the stars, which thou hast ordained. What is man? What is man? That thou art mindful of him. Ladies and gentlemen, you mean God didn't know what man was? General Motors doesn't know what Cadillac is?
Yes.
They created it. Was God asking himself, who is man? But look at the first part of it. He said, when I consider what I did, I created the stars, the moon, and the sun, and everything, and then I what is this man? What is this man? What is this man that was created in the eyes of God? Man was so great in the eyes of God. God had to stop and consider for a moment. Good God Almighty, what have I created? What have I created? I created somebody that I'm going to put over all of my creation. I have made him in the form of who I am.
Yes.
Man is made in the form of God.
Yes.
Who is man? Man is greater than everything I created.
Yes.
That's why I get so provoked when you have false teachers and preachers, men who seek money, men who doesn't understand the value of a man to God.
Yes.
God said to man, consider what I have made. Consider who you are.
Yes.
And stop false preachers from dumbing down, from mitigating the things that Christ saw so important and valuable to him.
Amen. Amen.
Oh, I'm not finished yet. I'm not finished yet. Listen to me carefully, church. Truth walks slowly, soundly, and never fails. Lies move with the speed of lightning and attracts a lot of people with it. Because a lie is comfortable. But the truth is never comfortable until you're walking in the truth.
Amen.
Never comfortable. But here's the difference between a lie and the truth. Lies will not stand changing times.
Amen.
But the truth will.
Yes.
The truth never changes. A lie goes and it picks up speed and steam. But time always causes a lie to run out of gas. The truth will not run out of gas.
Amen.
I wonder why people tell lies and boys seem to be just taking over the world. But then God recalled me to what? Psalms what? What is that psalm? God says, I have watched the wicked and they flourish. No. Psalms, I can't bring it to me. Remember when David said, I'll watch the wicked, how they prosper, how they going forward? And all of this, Psalm 37, I believe. Yes. And they all just prospered and telling lies and prospered. But let me tell you something, people. If you all knew how soon these lies are going to fail, you would be saying, bless the Lord for Pastor Wright. Bless the Lord for that old blabbermouth. Because I want you to know we living what that old blabbermouth taught back centuries ago. The great apostle taught. When he failed to bow down to the will of men. Anybody who meets Jesus Christ will not bow down to the will of men. Anybody who meets Jesus Christ will not compromise God's word to get money. Any man who compromises God's word to get money never met Christ.
Amen. Amen.
All right, I want you to read loud and clear for me, brother. We go into the book of Acts, the 17th chapter, and let's look at that, the 22nd verse. And I want you to read it so loudly, I want it to sound like a trumpet. Acts. All right?
Then Paul stood in the midst of Mars Hill and
Now hold it
said,
for 1 second. I'll be interrupting you as we move along. Mars Hill was a place in Greece. And that Mars Hill was associated with what they call the Rock. It was a rock named after a rock in Greece. Now Paul went and he stood where?
On Mars Hill.
He stood up on Mars Hill. I like to say, now remember Paul was coming against all these false people. And what do you call these people? Soothsayers and soothsayers. That's it. Soothsayers. All these false and false liars like we have today. The false teachers and the false liars. And anytime, listen to me, anytime you meet Christ, any two-time Christ choose you to stand up and tell the truth, you hate every false way.
Amen.
I hate every false way. Now go quickly.
You men of Athens, I perceive that you all, in all things, you are too superstitious. As I passed by and behold your devotion, I found an altar with his inscription, to the unknown God.
To the unknown God. And ladies and gentlemen, they are still preaching about the unknown God. They are still preaching about the unknown God. Ladies and gentlemen, once you meet Christ, once you know his divinity, once you know the divine ingredients that comes from Christ, ladies and gentlemen, you know when someone is speaking falsely.
Amen.
Any two-time you surmise, any two-time your quest toward the people to build up this world, to build up this world, you have never met Jesus Christ. Anything that comes out of heaven always exalts heaven.
Amen.
And what's of the earth exalts the earth. Go on, read on quickly.
Whom therefore you ignorantly worship him, declaring unto you, God that made the world and all things therein, seeing that he is Lord of heavens and earth, dwelleth not in temples made with hands.
Hold it right there. And they're still doing the same thing today at a greater scale. All this foolishness in the house of God. All this emotionalism in the house of God. All this nothing but people jumping up and hollering and hooping and acting a fool in the house of God. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Did you know? Well, let me ask you a question. If you had an ambassador, if the president sent an ambassador over to another country to represent the United States, and he got up and started growling, and the people jump up and start whooping and hollering, what the dignitaries going to do? They going to say, wait a minute, I'm getting out of here. Man's wiser than God? Is man wiser than God? No wonder people know nothing about God. They don't know anything because the leaders doesn't know anything about God. All they're doing is preaching the gospel of their own concept and precept, and God is nowhere in the picture. That's why America is failing, because it's been separated from divine moral understanding, wisdom, and love.
Amen.
And it's failing. America now has become like a country as a bunch of little cubs out in the wilderness that got separated from the mother.
Yes.
It's just a matter of time the prey going to get them.
Yes.
America has separated themselves away from divine understanding, from divine love, from divine purpose, from divine understanding. It is all men. They are preaching nothing more than the concept of men, and it's provoking God to anger. That's why he said judgment going to begin in the house of God. It's already begun, because the worst judgment you can have is when you think you're preaching for God and you're preaching for the world.
Amen.
Read a little bit more, brother.
Neither is worship with men's hand as though he needed anything, seeing he giveth to all life and breath and all things, and had made of one blood all nations of men for to dwell on all the face of the earth, and had determined the time before appointed and bound of their habitation.
Hold it right there. Hold it right there. I watched a so-called preacher, I can't call his name. A fool, I'll call him a fool. Telling the people that God died to make you rich. I feel sorry for you. I want you to know this. You false teachers. I warn you. God raised me up to warn you. And you better listen to me carefully. Every soul that you led through deceptions of false teaching for the purpose of enriching the flesh, on that day, you will give an account for every soul that you led astray.
Amen. Amen.
I say amen.
Amen.
I say amen. Your problem is this. Your problem is this. And you don't realize it. Just like God said, I will turn you over to a reprobate mind to make you do these things that you think are right. I listened to Cutthroat. This man's mind has been reprobated, messing with God. And many others. God has turned your mind over to, you are reprobate, and you think that you are doing the things of God. That is the judgment that has already begun in the house of God, because you false teachers are trying to make a lie out of God. The great apostle Paul, the old blabbermouth as I am, he said in his word that if any man think that money is godliness, is deceit. God never told a lie.
Amen.
If you like this, subscribe to me. Until next time, this is God's street preacher, God's man for the hour, God's man to let you know you're following liars and false teachers. And until next time, remember, Jesus and I highly approve this message.
Amen.